ulitupatia maji mingi aje?
Last year, with you, more than 400 wells alone have been dug by Penny Appeal Canada. 2,400 households benefit directly from our solar water plants. More than 900,000 children now have access to clean, nourishing, life-sustaining water.
يا ترجع تبعتوا لنا أكل مثل هالمرة؟
With your help, we distributed over 14,000 kilograms of food. That's a total of 40,000 meals across 2 continents in 5 affected areas. Ramadan last year, from you, orphans received a lot. From new clothes to new books, to love, to a sense of meaning and purpose, and most importantly, a sense of belonging. This Ramadan, Penny Appeal Canada will serve again with impact,
रुके आप वापस आएंगे?
with love, with hope. Because at Penny Appeal Canada, we believe with you, we can.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It's Mark Strong from Penny Appeal Canada, and we want to say Ramadan Kareem to everyone who is celebrating Ramadan and has gotten themselves knee-deep in our fasting, in our prayers, and of course, in our commitment to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and dedication in this month of Ramadan. We are so happy and excited to be doing this segment with you where we get a chance to speak to imams across the Caribbean, specifically within the Caribbean diaspora, to find out more about what it's like as a Caribbean person, not just in the GTA, as you know, the imams here, but also across the Caribbean, how it's celebrated, how it's respected, and of course, the different customs and traditions. I myself, being from Caribbean descent, very happy to be part of hosting this particular segment. So let's get right to it. Our very first imam that we will be speaking to, the liaison public officer for the Islamic Council of Jamaica and also the director of Jamaica Foundation for Islamic Charity. Please welcome Taariq Abdul Majid.
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jazakumullah khairan kathiran. May Allah reward you all immensely for having me, inshallah ta'ala. So alhamdulillah, it is good to be here as well, to be invited by Penny Appeal Canada to speak about Islam in Jamaica, the projects we have and how we celebrate Ramadan as well. So it is really a pleasure and an honor, bidnillah. So I look forward to this session with you, inshallah, where we can get to know each other. As you know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions lita'arafu, that the reason why we are different places, so that we can get to know one another. So inshallah, I'm looking forward to it, bidnillah.
Subhanallah. I have a lot of questions that we have prepared. I also have some personal questions that won't put you off, but it's something I just kind of want to ask you myself. Been to Jamaica several times.
No problem, no problem.
And would love to talk to you about that on a personal level as well too. And you guys will get the inside scoop on some of these answers and questions. But first, let's talk about you sharing your journey in Islam. What inspired you to pursue the path? Was it a book? Was it a finding? Was it some revelation that came to you? What was your first initial introduction to Islam, and what allowed you to keep on the path?
Well, for me, alhamdulillah, I am one of the few. So within Jamaica, it's a good question. Within Jamaica, majority of the Muslims here are what we call reverts, who have returned to Islam. Islam, we know that from birth we are Muslims, but then parents change. For me, I'm fortunate, alhamdulillah, that the revert was my father. That my father, yes, alhamdulillah, he was the one that actually, when he left high school here, we live in a community, and I'm still within that community currently as an adult with my family. He lived very close to the masjid. So he had Muslim friends, and there was one particular Muslim that used to speak to him about Islam. And after leaving high school, he responded, and he had these discussions and these conversations, and then he embraced Islam. And he went, subhanAllah, he went to Guyana to study Islam. Shortly after, then he married my mother. So I'm not only a Jamaican, but I also have Guyanese connections in the Caribbean as well. And alhamdulillah, this is how I came up. And growing within the Muslim home, yes, you have the influence of the non-Muslims throughout. I spent majority of my time interacting with non-Muslims at school, etc. But alhamdulillah, with the foundation that was set, as I never left, alhamdulillah. I maintained my deen bidnillah. So as I said, I'm one of those who are fortunate that maybe I'm not the actual revert, but the actual revert is my father.
Mashallah. Mashallah. I myself am a revert myself, so I can really appreciate your father's journey and then moving forward to having
Yes.
children that now will be born into the religion, which also is there's a different connection. The
Yes.
revert, and I would like to ask you this question, especially in Jamaica and in the Caribbean, as a revert, sometimes we find that reverts have a stronger, quicker passion to all of the particulars of Islam. And then those that are born into Islam, they are privileged as such, but then sometimes they feel like the reverts regenerate and re-energize their feeling for
Yes.
Islam.
And
So
this
do
is
you,
a fact. It is a
yeah.
fact. So I got this passion from my father and I saw it across with the others. So this is a fact. So when the reverts come in, and even currently when they do accept Islam, that passion is there. That
Mm-hmm,
we are leaving that. We are leaving all of these distractions,
mm-hmm,
all of these things that people go after. We want none of this. So all of
mm-hmm,
these things that people are striving, the women, the music,
mm-hmm,
the dance hall,
mm-hmm.
the nightlife, all
Yep.
of these. They are so even so Muslims, alhamdulillah. But I can tell you, amongst the young Muslims, they're saying, I've never experienced that. The revert will say, you don't want it. It's rubbish.
Alhamdulillah.
Rubbish. I'm telling you, it's rubbish. And they inspire you to say that's foolishness. You
Yes.
shouldn't desire that. And alhamdulillah, and this is something, even with the masjids here, you can see that that's what revived the masjids here. So even though the first two masjid in the island was built in the 1950s, and they were built by Indian descendants. So
Mm-hmm,
even though there was the slave trade and Muslims who were slaves at the time, the Christianity was forced upon them. They had to secretly practice their religion.
mm-hmm,
When the Indians came, they came as indentured laborers, and a part of the contract was that they could freely practice their religion, be it Hinduism or Islam. So they built two masjids in the 1950s. Both of them was built in 1957, just a few weeks apart, different parts of the island. But what you found was that even though they were built by the Indians, they were built because culturally they knew that it is important to have a masjid. So there
mm-hmm,
wasn't necessarily any programs in the masjid. But when they had some of the reverts of African descent and they found out that wait, there's a masjid here, they would travel, they would walk miles upon miles to the masjid, they would remove the things that were in the masjid, they would start establishing salah, calling people to Islam. So you found that the reverts they revived and they were the one who spread the deen. And currently it is similarly the same thing. Majority of the da'wah projects that you find is that it's the revert, but no, alhamdulillah, it's the revert and the children of the reverts
mm-hmm,
who you find very extremely active. And then you will find that there are some, so I'm not going to say there aren't any, but there are some who those descendants, especially the ones who their parents, their forefathers built the masjid.
mm-hmm.
Alhamdulillah, it was one of these brothers that his father built the masjid, that he was the one that used to interact with my father.
Okay.
Right? So yeah, so he was one of them that used to interact with my father regularly. He gave my father shahada. So those particular families, they are there. But there are many of the families, they're not so, you find them easily deviating because it's as if because they didn't taste the outside world,
Right.
some of them start looking for the outside world and easily distracted. But the reverts, alhamdulillah, a lot of the time when they come in, they are firm. It's as if, and Allah mentions this, right? That this is one of the sweetness of Iman, that they hate the hellfire so much, they hate going back to the hellfire so much that they have
Mhm.
no desire for it. So Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. So you speak about some of those unique nuances. Can you give us a little bit more of the unique cultural practices among Jamaican Muslims in particular that sort of blend the Islamic teachings with local traditions and um, that sort of part themselves from anything that is haram or anything that
Yes.
is frowned upon, but yet sort of still can blend and merge the culture with the religion.
All right. So Alhamdulillah, one of the things that is we have something, and I know one of my brothers in Canada also know spoken about it sometimes, is that the ackee and saltfish culturally is something that is loved here. And it is one of those things that, because sometimes it is difficult to get meat that is slaughtered according to Islamic law,
Right.
the ackee and the saltfish is prevalent and it is loved by many. So you find that it blends in with the Islamic culture, because the saltfish and the ackee being a fruit that is very easy. So culturally, even though it's a national dish, the Muslims engage in it a lot, because again, it is very nice. And one of those food that people usually say that if you don't have meat, then get some ackee and saltfish. So sometimes when you see that, yes, you really can't find the halal meat, you get some ackee and saltfish. It's as if you don't miss the meat at all. That's one. The second one I'd like to mention is there's a traditionally here they have a family, what you call like Sunday dinner on the weekend, where the family meets up and they will make like rice and peas or whatever it is, fried chicken or some soup or whatever. So normally, culturally, usually in Jamaica, you find a lot of the time the people, because of the life that they live, they are not necessarily married. A lot of children are born out of wedlock. Almost 2/3 of the children here in Jamaica, they're born out of wedlock. And even the ones within that is born within wedlock, sometimes there's a lot of nuances that even the father is not known. However, one of the things they try to maintain is getting together on Sundays. So you find that with the Muslims themselves, that part of the culture, that Islam is conducive to it, because of course they're gathering together as a family and they're eating together. So those are two of the main things I would say that within the culture. So the national dish and the meeting up as a family on the weekend. I think those are two of the things within the culture that it definitely blends in, and it assists them with the iman, and it doesn't contradict their deen.
MashaAllah. That leads me in a perfect segue to my next question. First of all, ackee and saltfish is not just a breakfast food. I can have it anytime.
Exactly. Anytime.
But it's funny when I go sometimes when I've been to Jamaica before, and if I don't get there in time, they'll say the ackee and saltfish done by 11 a.m.
Yes.
Although I'd like to have it in the afternoon, but it's any food for sure.
That's one of the things I'll tell you. So the Muslims, they will have it anytime. So culturally, a lot of the time, the Jamaicans generally treat it as a breakfast food.
Yes.
But us as Muslims, and that's why I told you, when we don't have meat, it's any meal. It's any meal for us. But culturally, yes, Jamaicans, they see it as a breakfast food, but we can't be on breakfast, man. We eat it for lunch, dinner, anytime.
It leads me to this question I want to ask now, because you made an interesting point about the merger of the family practice and the religion. So having a Sunday dinner, a Sunday breakfast, a Sunday gathering, would probably be tailored to the fact that most of us live under a Christian calendar. And we live under a weekend, so that the weekend falls where the Sunday is considered the Sabbath on a Christian calendar. So we sort of fall into, without anything haram, we just sort of fall into the fact that is the time when most of us gather, because we've all known that is the traditions of the country.
Yes.
So what does interfaith dialogue, how does that play to promote harmony in Jamaica, and how do you help to contribute to that harmony in the interfaith dialogue?
Okay, so alhamdulillah, that is a very good question. It is something that I'm actively engaged in. So there are various methods that we use. One of them is that there is a national interfaith committee where the people of the various religions they meet on a regular basis, and I am also a member within this committee. So usually, sometimes annually, for example, it is organized by the government, where there is what you call a national meeting, whether it be a breakfast time or in an afternoon. So annually, where each of the religious leaders basically present their faith.
Okay.
And so they basically do a basic presentation on their faith, read something from their book, and then pretty much say what is their contribution in terms of national development, but a very short means of presentation. So even so, one is meeting regularly, and another on a national level, it is organized by the government at least once per year, where that it can show that, of course, these religions, they exist in harmony, and they're all pretty much recognized within the country itself. So that is one of them. So there's actually a committee that there are regular dialogues between them, events are organized, etc. Another one is that there is a radio program that I do on a weekly basis, and it's actually on a national station. And what is interesting is that for the program that I host, immediately after there is a Christian program.
Okay.
So yes, immediately after, no breaks in between. Immediately after, it goes straight into. And the program that I host on Sundays, alhamdulillah, inshallah, it is one of the things that we have an internet-based radio that we'll probably be advertising, which can be
Inshallah.
listened across the globe. But the local station itself, it comes on Sundays,
Okay.
which is also a day that the people are listening for religious food for thought. And
Right.
the program is for 30 minutes, the voice of Islam. And I look at things, societal issues. So one of the things we address is the issues in society, the conduct that's expected of us as people, and
Mhm.
looking at commonalities, right? Speaking about commonality between the faith, looking at the various scriptures, comparing the points in the various scriptures. So it's something to open people's appetite. And we have been doing this for the past 9 years or so. And alhamdulillah, it has been a lot of reception has been coming in where people have now opened their minds as to who are Muslims. You all are not much different. You'll have a lot of similar principles. So it is
Mhm.
something that we have been doing on a regular basis on the radio program. And another thing we do as well is when we have da'wah events, we try to invite the leaders, the
Mhm.
leaders of the other communities, and we try to invite them to speak. And one of the things is we try our best to avoid debates. We try to
Okay.
look at conversations rather than debate. So my personal approach when I host programs and even when I'm invited to events, the first thing I ask is it a dialogue or is it a debate? Because it's not
Mhm.
I'm not against debate, but the thing is with debate, people are not necessarily open. You don't necessarily have an audience that's going to listen. They
Right.
just want to know that their leader wins the argument.
Mhm. Mhm.
Right. So alhamdulillah, that's one of my approach in terms of contribution is I try to foster dialogue, have weekly programs where we speak about it, the comparisons and that, and then being involved also with the Interfaith National Committee as well that is here in Jamaica.
If once again everybody's tuning in, we're speaking to Brother Tariq here from Jamaica, as we have our sort of, I guess, our Penny Appeal meets Caribbean Imam sessions and in events that we'll be having, and just having a dialogue across Canada and across the Caribbean, and speaking to them in different segments. I also want to sort of reach out to talk about the youth in Jamaica. So among the youth in the Caribbean, for that matter, or Caribbean youth around the world, sometimes it's hard to hold their attention. Sometimes it's hard to grasp them and keep them focused within a certain lane. And Islamically as well too, that happens a lot too with our Caribbean youth as well too, to have them centered and focused. How do you address those challenges that are faced by some of the young Muslims in Jamaica in particular, who may have feel that they have identity crisis or exposure to globalization? There's a lot of heavy influence of, let's say, not just Christianity. It could be Rastafari. It could be anything else that would sort of I don't want to say anything. I don't want to say anything offensive. So let me just say something that would influence them and maybe draw them from Islam. How do you keep them focused to Islam?
Alhamdulillah, this is a very, very good question, and it's one of the things that for me, um, there are there are many groups that we focus on, right? But personally, one of the things that my personal, I should say, I would say that I incline towards mainly are the reverts and the youth, right? So I have an inclination towards those who revert because for them, you really know that okay, they came in with something,
Mhm.
and you needed to know that this is the right thing so that they have something to hold on to. And then the youth, because of course they're vulnerable, you want them to be strong and then them to take on the mantle when it comes to them. So these are the two. Alhamdulillah, you spoke about the youth. One of the things I try to do is that you have to study them and live with them and be amongst them. So and I realize that if persons who speak and know that I speak, they always say, Brother Tariq, he doesn't speak long, so we listen to him. And
Mhm.
I hear that amongst the youth a lot. One of the things is to keep them attention, you have to be speaking their language,
Mhm.
but do not burden them with what you're going to give them. So don't
Mhm.
speak down to them. Let them know that, look, we go through these, let's work together. Let them know it's a partnership. So the approach you have to take here is that here we are here helping each other. I'm a little older, not be as young as you, but
Mhm.
I might have something in the head here that I can assist you with your youth and your energy and your exuberance. And
Mhm.
because of that, and whenever you have that level of humility amongst them, they appreciate that. Whenever you are inclusive with them, ensure
Mhm.
that they are a part of the decision and not that you decide for them. thinking that they don't know. But when you ensure that they are very much included in the decision, meaning they make the decision and you just assist and say, here what, based on my experience, this might be, and you tailor, rather than you just dictate and say, what, this is what you need to do. So one of the things is being very inclusive with them, being engaging with them. One of the things with being engaging with them, you have to play with them. So even though I might not be as young, when they're playing basketball or football or whatever, you're there with them. So they see that you're not just somebody just coming to give them instructions, that you want them to develop. Right, and you engage similarly with your family, and you engage, bring them in your activities. So my children, my sons, my daughter, you engage them within make them be engaged within the activity. And when you do that, no, they themselves, alhamdulillah, I've heard sometimes when I go amongst them, like they will say that, your father, he's a cool parent, he's one of those cool parents. So it seems like something is going well, alhamdulillah. So you have to, and when they're open to listen, then you can engage them, and they speak to you, they ask questions. So I do regular sessions with them. And like today, alhamdulillah, I had a session with them, and two of the younger sisters, the teenage sisters, they asked very important questions, like if people are ostracizing you, things that are really affecting them. We just what if we decide that we want to stay home because we can't deal with what is happening when we go outside there? So some of these things that they're open, and once you see that they're asking the questions, then that is good, because then you can assist them, give them advice, and give them some level of motivation, and say, here what, okay, that means I should be doing this. All right, I'm doing the right thing. I understand I need to tailor. So that's one of the things, man. Engage with them, be involved with them, speak to them with respect, ensure that they are the ones making the decisions, and you are just advising them. And these are just some of the things that, inshallah, alhamdulillah, I see that it is working. And we just have to, once we are sincere upon this and we continue making dua and making the effort, then idnillah, we are seeing success, and inshallah, we know success comes from Allah.
Inshallah. You sprinkle a little patwa here and there, it should help as well too.
Yes. And that is exactly it as well. So when they hear me speak and they say, yo, no need to just work on this thing, they can just behave, man. And that when they realize, hey, he's not speaking, all right. Yeah. So they realize you're speaking their language.
Yeah, it's very important to always address and refer to the book and the religion and the faith, but it's also very important to speak in the vernacular and the understanding, so that you can merge the two together and feel as though you're walking with them, as you were mentioning. But also very important, you talked about motivation and inspiration as well too. A reality for our youth as well too is mental health. And what you were just speaking about is a overall grounding of healthy communication and healthy opening understanding. So what roles do you find spirituality what roles does spirituality play in the addressing of mental health faced by the Jamaican youth or the Jamaican population, in the community in Islam?
Yes, alhamdulillah. Again, another good question. So one of the things I have done is that based on experience, there is a course that I've been running with the youth and the adults over the past 7 months, over the past 6 months or so. And I call it an AI course. No, and that's one of the things, you have to speak their language. So when they hear AI course, AI is the language of the day. But the AI is not artificial intelligence.
Okay.
It is akhlaq intelligence, character intelligence. It is aqidah intelligence. Right? It is right. So it is those intelligence. So when they hear the AI, they're coming, what is this AI?
Yeah.
So when you start showing, and then your presentations themselves are very catchy to them. So you have the PowerPoint presentations, and then you show the connection that here what. And what I do from this. So for example, a part of it we do tafsir. So studying the Quran. We do studying hadith. Right? And we do study in Sirah. But the difference with the AI course is that because it's an akhlaq intelligence, the work on character, what we look at are what are the practical lessons we can apply within our daily lives from this surah. So we don't go in the extensive, details for you becoming a scholar. But then because you're applying it, you're applying a surah, you're applying something from the Sirah, you're applying something from a hadith. And it is so easy. Like when somebody mentioned the hadith, you say, I know that hadith. But you didn't really memorize the hadith. How we are trying to make people memorize it is through action. So this is one of the things, and I realize that it is something that really helps them spiritually, that we focus on some of these things, that character, we focus on building character. So a lot of the classes that I've been doing, alhamdulillah, over the recent times, is that I focus on character. So regardless of what the subject is, whatever subject is, okay, what can I do today to demonstrate this? And this is something that I realize that it really has helped people spiritually. And this is why you see even questions coming from the younger ones, etc. Like, okay, I understand what you just said. I really get it. How should I do this? And then you bring back an incident. And you don't talk down to them. You just show them that, here, what, this is one of the lessons. And the problem you are facing, this is something that somebody else faced. And how was it dealt with? This is how it was dealt with. So this is one of the things that we have tried to use in terms of tailoring our approach, that we focus on building character, because when it comes to mental health, and yes, I even do mental health sessions as well, and some of the programs I do, alhamdulillah, even on the radio program, we do some sessions specific dealing with mental health, because we know those are one of the things the Sharia comes to preserve, which is the act of the intellect, the mental health. So we focus on that as well. So we don't speak about, we're not going to say Sharia law and the
Right.
akal. No, but when you start speaking about the things of mental health, that is really what it is. When you speak within their language, easy to understand, easy to digest. And alhamdulillah, as I said, it is something that has been helping myself and helping a lot of the others with regards to this, because this is a serious thing, not just for the youth, but it's a global thing with regards to this, especially the influences that are coming in from all around, and this quick paced life. It
Yep.
is something that affects everyone. So we have to be consistently looking at this. How do we address it? And practically on a daily basis, how can we counter it, and how can we balance our life?
We're speaking to Taariq Abdul Majid from Jamaica right now in our segment here of Penny Appeal, speaking to the Caribbean imams in the Caribbean around the world this Ramadan. I also want to ask you about, I want to go back a little bit, just a little bit, in concerns to not only reverts, but those who are young and have to sort of deal with the modern day life that is happening around them. If we don't live in an Islamic community, we don't live in an Islamic state per se, and we have a lot of different influences that are around, and a lot of different things that we have to challenge in order to balance
Yes.
ourselves. I find a
Yes.
lot of people that I go that see me in particular, and they're happy to see a black Muslim, and they're happy to
Yes.
see a revert, and they say, I have to ask you, how do you, we always seem to balance off each other. How
Yeah.
do we, how do you, for example, deal with your family not being Muslim, for example, and
Yeah.
you revert to Islam? Or I am Muslim, but when I walk out of my house and I reach the rest of the world, how do I balance and maintain my Islam, my deen, my focus? So, is there any advice that you can give Muslims, young Muslims in particular, reverts, or just those who just find challenges in this everyday world, in Jamaica in particular? Because we do have Jamaican youth here, obviously, very big population here in
Yes.
Canada, but it doesn't mean that because we're across land that we don't
Yes.
share the same experiences. So,
Yes.
what would you be your advice to them on how to stay focused Islamically?
Right. So one of the advice I've given a lot of the youth, and that's a very good question, is to get engaged within the community. Engage yourself within whichever community you are, however close you are with the community. You might not be able to do it every day, but get connected with a masjid, get connected with a Muslim youth organization, get
Hmm.
connected with a Muslim-based charity. Just connect yourself with them and start being active. So there are two things: is connect yourself one of these group, engage yourself with them and be active. And the second one, regardless of how you decide to learn, but make sure that you're always learning or listening something. That it just it's a means of personal development where every day is better than the next. So whether it's a series you like, an imam you like, or whatever it might be, then try your best to just engage with the community. I know we are almost out of time, so I think you have probably a few questions, so you can let me
Yes.
know.
Let us know your vision for the future of Islam in Jamaica and what steps are needed to achieve it. And also, how do you see Penny Appeal, who is a global charity organization, help to be part of that vision? Because I know that you head and liaison different factions in the Muslim community in Jamaica. How can we connect ourselves with helping you as well too?
Well, you see, that's a very heavy question. I have a big vision for Jamaica, but I will try. I'll mention a lot of them and then probably a few of them and then just speak about how I think you all may assist.
Sure.
So for me, I think one of the things is that in engaging people and effecting the dawah is that the masjid is the hub for every activity. And the more masjid you have, is
Hmm.
the more you're more visible within the community. So even though Jamaica has almost 3 million people, but we only have 15 masjids. So
Hmm.
the 15 masjid is spread across, and probably the communities that sees maybe 100 or 200 around them. So it's not much seeing that visibility.
Hmm.
My vision is to see at least 50 masjid. Allah knows best how long I may live. My vision is to see at least 50. So from 15 to 50, within the country. That's one of my vision. I also run a school here, an Islamic school, but it is just it teaches the regular subjects, academic subjects, and also Islamic studies that is fused and blended within the subjects. So this is one of the things I do, and one of my vision is that to see at least 15 of these schools around the island where people are, because alhamdulillah the students have done well. So I've run it from the primary school level right up to the end of secondary school level. They have done exceptionally well, alhamdulillah. One of my vision is also to see this level of growth with regards to schools. So yes, I will just mention those two because those are two of the major ones since the time is running out. But so one, I think in terms of assistance for Penny Appeal, even being a part of the charity, is that pushing the programs that we have, the medical aid, some of these things, the educational program, a lot of these things for the charity that I'm a director of, we are unable to do them, and we just curtail to just food distribution, selected food distribution every 2 weeks because of funding. So in terms of building, assisting building masjid, renovating masjid, building schools, and also assisting with the charity projects, with the medical aid projects, the food program, the shelter program. So a lot of these programs that we have on our mandate, but we haven't been able to activate them because of funding. So Allahu Alam. And as I know, the time is running out, but those I would say, I believe that those are the key projects I believe that Penny Appeal may be able to assist with.
Alhamdulillah. We thank you so much for spending time and giving us this moment here on Penny Appeals Talk with the Caribbean Imams around the world.
Jazakumullah khairan. May Allah reward you all immensely. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Ulitupatia maji mingi aje.
Last year, with you, more than 400 wells alone have been dug by Penny Appeal Canada. 2,400 households benefit directly from our solar water plants. More than 900,000 children now have access to clean, nourishing, life-sustaining water.
يا ترجع تبعتوا لنا أكل مثل هالمرة؟
With your help, we distributed over 14,000 kilograms of food. That's a total of 40,000 meals across 2 continents in 5 affected areas. Ramadan last year, from you, orphans received a lot. From new clothes to new books, to love, to a sense of meaning and purpose, and most importantly, a sense of belonging. This Ramadan, Penny Appeal Canada will serve again with impact,
रुके आप वापस आएंगे
with love, with hope. Because at Penny Appeal Canada, we believe with you, we can.